Dark, depressing weather on a late hour while just getting off of work here in the fall time. Perfect time for the Dark Conservatarian to come out, even though I am not in my attire and whatnot. Hello everybody, it is the Dark Conservatarian coming to you as just plain old Zach doing another car rant. So just recently I heard about this whole Mr. Metokur versus Sargon of Akkad thing. Yeah, I originally heard about this from Rin Michaelis. I mean, I was notified, of course, of the Hello Jim stream on Sargon's second account, The Thinkery, but I didn't care to watch it, honestly. I mean, I think I started watching it, but I only got past the Elton John. I think it was Elton John anyways. The Elton John song that he had played at the very beginning, which was kind of odd. I was thinking to myself, why the heck is he playing this? But anyway, so what I know of the details of this whole drama is mainly what was talked about in Sargon's stream, Hello Jim, and Rin Michaelis' two videos on it. Particularly the one later video that she did where she was a little bit more in depth. But yeah. So, the mainstay of this, of where I'm commenting, is that Rin Michaelis brings up the point that Sargon of Akkad, that he would not be believing of feminists' accusations of, well, anyone for that matter, but would not believe just some random woman's baseless accusations of rape just offhand without any evidence. Which, that's reasonable, but you know what also would be reasonable? Is not accusing Mr. Metokur of being a child groomer without any evidence. Yeah. So, just telling you right off the bat right now, I am, quite frankly, disappointed in Sargon, to be quite honest. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am a longtime fan of Sargon of Akkad. I have been subscribed to him way before that I was subscribed to Steven Crowder. I'm unsubscribed from him, by the way, just note. Long before I had ever subscribed to Steven Crowder or S-Man Speaks or anyone else in the Poor Bastards, before I had ever subscribed to anyone else I'm currently subscribed to, the only other person that I have been subscribed to longer than Sargon of Akkad is freaking Markiplier. That's it. But yes, Sargon, when it comes to political channels, Sargon I have been subscribed to the longest time, but this is turned out to be a real deal breaker. I mean, the main reason why I remained to Sargon for all these months, despite all of his flaws, is mostly because I found the guy, when he occasionally got something right, he got it right. That's just my vague layman's opinion about him. But this is, I mean, whatever cons he had, I was able to look over. But this is pathetic right here. Him doing a full 1 hour stream, well, 40 minutes if you don't count the first 20 minutes where he did not get his audio straight on that stream. But he did like an hour-long stream talking about this shit. It was pathetic. I gotta say that the Hello Jim stream from Sargon was the most pathetic, condescending, petty, and slanderous thing that I had ever seen from Sargon. And this is coming from a guy who had watched his video where he was being all like, oh, Christy Winters abused me, where he was basically being a bitch in that stream, like, or in that one video. I think it was 30 or 40 minutes long. The one that was titled "The SJWs Admit That They Are Monsters," where he was going on about a non-issue. But this is almost even more so of a non-issue. I mean, I do not know the whole history of the relationship between Mr. Metokur and Sargon of Akkad, honestly, and I know little to nothing about Mr. Metokur. The most, the most I know about him is that he was a guy that he is just an internet edgelord associated with the blood sports drama community, and he got his rise during the time of when Andy Worski was doing nothing but streams. Andy Worski has got off of doing nothing but streams now, but that's beside the point. So I know little to nothing about Mr. Metokur. But I don't need to know anything about Mr. Metokur, to be quite honest, to know that Sargon of Akkad is destroying his own credibility right now by not providing any evidence for how Mr. Metokur is a child groomer. Oh, so he has some teenage fans, some young teenage boy fans, and he's talked to young teenagers as well. That doesn't really amount to shit right there. I mean, you can call that creepy all you want, but as far as I know, being creepy isn't technically a crime, to be quite honest. I mean, unless you're, like, stalking or cyber stalking, that is a little bit of a different story, but as far as I know, there was no cases of any stalking going on. Sargon did not bring up any examples of him doing stalking, and I know that, and by the way, people are probably not going to like me using this as an example, but fuck it. Josselman. Brandon Paget would keep on teasing Josselman of being a pedophile, supposedly, just because Josselman hung out with a young 12-year-old boy called Eminem Fanboy. I mean, Brandon was calling him a harsh label, a label that absolutely no sane person would want to be called. But in the end, we knew that overall Brandon was just kidding. I mean, is anybody even going to take seriously the accusation of Josselman being a pedophile unless there was actual significant evidence that he was actually witnessed of diddling Eminem Fanboy? I don't think so. But in the case of Josselman, as I'm trying to say, just because he hangs out with Eminem Fanboy, that does not automatically mean that he's a pedophile. Just because Mr. Metokur is hanging out and has a whole bunch of teenage fanboys doesn't mean that he himself is a child groomer. I mean, a whole bunch of other YouTubers be talking to little boys and have a bunch of little boy fanboys. Crap ton of YouTube gamers, you know. Mindcap Kid, I had checked out his channel for a little bit. I never actually talked to the guy, and by the way, this kid comes to mind because yesterday I was talking about him on a stream with another guy called Aintcap Ball. But anyway, Mindcap Kid, I've seen his channel for a little bit, and he was subscribed to me for a little bit. I hadn't talked to the guy, but still, nobody would accuse me of being a child groomer just because of those circumstances, would they? Or at least, if they had a shred of sanity, they would not. Anyways. And I apply that logic the same way to Sargon of Akkad here. Unless Sargon was getting, like, Sorry, I said Sargon. I meant Mr. Metokur. The same logic that I'm applying to Mr. Metokur, excuse me. I mean, unless Mr. Metokur is witness to actually getting uncomfortably physically close with a bunch of little kids, I don't think it's really credible that anybody has any leg to stand on to say that, oh, he's a child groomer. So that's how Sargon destroys his credibility. I mean, it's one thing for a person to, like, make an opinionated rant, but this goes down to the point of slanderous right here. I mean, he'd be criticizing... A lot of people would be criticizing BuzzFeed for libel and slander, but here's Sargon being borderline slanderous, if not just outright slanderous with Mr. Metokur. I mean, it's one thing for somebody to be calling Mr. Metokur a piece of shit, and for all I know, Mr. Metokur might have many cons to him. He might even, if I was to know enough about him, I probably would think for myself that he's a piece of shit. I don't know, but that's not the point here. Sargon of Akkad is not stating an opinion of how bad he thinks that Mr. Metokur is. No, he is putting an accusation on him that implies an immoral and rather criminal action, that being child grooming, when really he has no evidence of that. So this gets into the territory of slander, which is why that I am coming to the point, actually no, screw it. I'm going to be unsubbing from Sargon of Akkad. Both his main channel and his secondary channel. And I'm not going to be like telling or demanding people that they should be unsubscribing from him. I mean, if you're going to stay subbed to him, well then fine. I don't know the reasoning why, but your prerogatives be yours, dude. But I would think, just in my opinion, that it would be best for a person to just completely unsub from Sargon because of this shit. I mean, it's one thing for him to be like for a person to have different beliefs than you, and for you to be sub to them. But again, this is getting into slanderous territory, I would say. I mean, if somebody says I'm a little bit off base here, well then they can like make a response video to this car rant that I'm doing. But yeah, this is just utterly pathetic. Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think of what else. Oh yeah, there was another thing. Like, I'm gonna be mentioning one of the Twitter chat groups of where that Rin Michaelis, who was exposing this whole story to me. I'm at a red light, by the way, just FYI. Rin Michaelis was accused of lying and taking Sargon out of context by somebody. I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but somebody said that she was lying and that she was taking him out of context and was trying to make the claim that Sargon was just joking about calling Mr. Metokur a child groomer. But when I listened to the stream myself, there was not one single mention from Sargon of saying, hey, I'm only joking about calling Mr. Metokur a child groomer. That's my best Sargon interpretation, by the way, or impersonation. I mean, it sucks, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I did not hear at all of him saying that he's just joking. And again, there might be a long history here between Mr. Metokur and Sargon of Akkad, and Mr. Metokur may have many, many, many flaws. But if a person is going to be criticizing and rebutting Mr. Metokur for some piece of shit action of his, you need to be accurate in your expose, your exposing of Mr. Metokur. I mean, he could be the biggest piece of shit in a lot of other ways, but that does not excuse you of getting the facts wrong in this area. Mr. Metokur could be a liar on the facts of some stories. He could be, yeah, I haven't watched any of his content at all, except for this, regarding this drama. That's all. I'm trying to park here, so hang on. Okay, so I paused the recording for a second there, and now I'm back. But anyway, so if anybody has any extra context to this story of Sargon calling Mr. Metokur a child groomer or whatever, well then please present the evidence or something. But as far as I know, just on the surface, it looks like Sargon is being slanderous, is making baseless accusations himself, which means he's lying, and he's destroying his own credibility, and for that I cannot remain supportive of the guy. I mean, there's a whole lot better YouTube channels out there anyways. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Yeah, but aside from that, Sargon, with all due respect, but go fuck yourself. Anyway, I am Zach the Dark Conservatarian. See y'all later, and God bless.